pivot, I thought, Zilla, that is a fantastic term because you always have to have one foot on the ground. You have to face reality. You can't like start, I don't know, you got me on this mind thing that I go into, and I just start thinking how important a pivot is. You got to stop, first of all, or it's traveling, and that one foot has to stay solid on the ground, not even move an inch. And from that, you can turn and you've got options for what you're going to do from the pivot. You can then, if you haven't been dribbling down the court, you could start dribbling, you could pass it off, you could shoot. And to me, just having the week or so too that we've been waiting, I thought, well, that's what it is during all this time. You've got to stop, you got to look and weigh the options, and then decide what is the best game plan for you. It may be to pass it off. If the challenge, or what I'm referring to as the defender, is bigger than you and I can't shoot over you, I'm going to pass the ball off. Or maybe it'll be, to shoot if it's clear, because you got to take some risks. And so one of the things is like, what have I been doing professionally is I had to immediately take some shots. Do we go online? Do we charge for it? Or do we do it free to build up a base? It's kind of an inbound marketing technique. And then what do I want to do personally? So it would be, do I do a schedule for myself? Like I get up, I walk at, 5, eat breakfast at 6, drink coffee at 7, do whatever. Or did I want to be more creative with my time, which is what is more natural for me? And then, a risk again. Am I going to go to the grocery store with the respiratory issues I have? Do I depend on other people? Big things that just come into play, and you have to pivot and make the best determination you can. And that's, I've been looking at people are talking about how they're going to come out 10 pounds heavier. I've actually lost weight because it's given me time to cook. Another thing that I've done, I created a 12-day Bible study out of what I was actually doing. So I made it a little workbook. I mean, I'm not going to sell it. I just do these things for fun. And it's from the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, and 7. So then I was like, on some days, I'd be like just not anxious in a bad way, but anxious as in, oh, come on, this thing has got to be over by now. Do you know what I did one time? I put on a Gladys Knight and the Pips CD in the computer, and I danced with one of my teddy bears from childhood. And we were doing all the old-fashioned moves like they did. So I just do things that calm my soul. There are, I don't know, I believe that there are like 5 things that, regardless of where you live or if you speak the same language, there's about 5 things that can center all of us. Music being one, poetry, storytelling, it's things like that. But music to me centers us back to where we can, at the core of who we are, it gets us back there when we start going out too far.
Well, music is your thing.
Oh, yes.
No, that's great. I mean, we all have to figure out what it is that takes us there, that gets us to that point of calmness. I mentioned earlier that a lot of us are in different situations. Some of us are more fortunate than others. My heart goes out to the class of 2020, both high school and college, because for 18 years or 20 years, they had this vision. People have lost their loved ones and people have lost their jobs. What are some words of encouragement that you'd want to share to just inspire? You seek to educate and inspire on a daily basis. Give me some sort of freestyle inspirational messages for that particular population to encourage them through COVID-19.
Okay, one is going to be, I'm trying to think of which one to start with. Okay, they'll both just start with a statement or a quote. one of the first things that I've learned is expect the unexpected. I help companies go through change efforts, whether it's their culture or technology or structure, merger, whatever. And all change comes down to a people by people issue. Because change can happen out there, but it doesn't mean it happens in us. So I've been able, what I look at with change is this, unfortunately, will be a very tough experience for a lot of people. I mean, I really understand, like with the death thing, having experienced one with my mother, and every interruption we have in life, we have to expect it, because the first thing is, if we don't expect it, then we're going to be shocked and we're going to be trying to gain ground the whole time. So if I expect unexpected, I know change is going to come. So then it's an option, is a change a positive or negative? Many of these situations are negative. So it's pressing on during that time and knowing that every single day is a series of choices, and meaning that I choose to go ahead and get out of bed. I choose disappointment that I didn't get to go to my prom or, graduate, walk across the stage. But I think that it's the disappointment, then knowing how to deal with that in a type of a grief cycle. And I mean, I'm kind of into trying to understand emotions, but Zilla, I think that grief cycle within a change or when expectations have not been met, that's actually where we go, which is from shock down to total grief, and then back up to having to really pull ourselves out of the valley, and finally, and not just an acceptance, but the motivation to move forward. Somebody said recently, somebody personal talking to me said, it's not losing somebody that's the hardest. The hardest part is moving on without them. Okay, so if whatever this is, your prom, your job, oh my God, I feel so blessed to have a job, but during this time, but I know people are hurting, but the hardest isn't that you've got to let go of that. The hardest is moving on without that. And which then leads to my last quote, which was Sir Edmund Hillary, the first with Tenzing Norgay to get to the summit of Mount Everest back in 53. He said this, it is not the mountain we conquer, it is ourselves. What he's saying is, I'm going to go conquer that mountain, that challenge, that risk, that hardship, that trial, that tribulation. But in essence, it's not the mountain. It's us that we're conquering, which goes back to how can I put this in a way that I can move forward. We always have to let something go with every change. But the question is, how will we move forward? And will we be prepared for this? With the graduates, and I'm not, those that have died, yes, I actually can have empathy. I've never not gone to a prom or a sorority end of the year gala or something. But the prom, I remember it. And I just think it's so sad but what they can do is, out of sadness can come joy. They can say, all right, we're not going to wait 5 years for a reunion. We're going to have a reunion 1 year from the prom day. And, I think then it would just start building some joy. It's like reinventing what your expectations were, but you do it in the future in a different way.
Wow. Interesting. I like that perspective. I mean, each of those, expect the unexpected, but the conquering the mountain, conquering self versus the mountain is a really interesting perspective, because we tend to look at the item itself as opposed to, the holistic picture, which is inclusive of
Yeah.
ourselves. So,
Yeah,
wow.
you can't push the mountain, but you can move away, gain perspective, and find a way over, through, around,
Yep.
whatever. I don't know. I went several directions in my head about what we can do versus a challenge in front of us.
Yeah. Well, you gave me a lot of content to work with. So part 2, it goes from pivot to forward. And so you actually talked about forward, which is about direction. I really appreciate you taking the time to share that, Sharleen. It really means a lot to me.
Oh, absolutely. But I love just getting to be with you.